Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi everyone, how are you today? Okay, this time we will discuss optimization techniques and how they relate to the profit maximization method. Before that, I would like to explain the optimization first, then we can try to what is the optimization techniques. What is the optimization technique? Optimization is the process of finding the best solution or optimal value of an optimization problem. The problem are there that look for the maximum value or minimum value, and these problems are often found in daily life, such as mathematics, engineering, social economics, agriculture, pharmacy, automotive, and others. The many optimization problems are accompanied by many settlement methods as well. In the introduction to the previous chapter on the function of manager economics, where the managerial economic is used as an application of the theory of economics and the decision-making tools to study how a company can achieve its goal and purposes in another efficient way. Whereas if we associate with company goals, namely to maximize profit or company value or minimize costs with certain constraint, therefore, the optimization technique method is a method used to maximize or minimize the company's objective function, provide the best alternative solution for the problem at hand. So for more information about the optimization technique, this time let's we review one by one in the following slideshow. This time, we will first discuss the content of chapter as you see as follow. First, the firm and resource allocation. In here, we'll discuss the condition of the allocation or distribution of resources, both capital, human, and production raw materials that exist in a company. And the second one, we will try to explain the profit maximization, which is the economic goals of firms, and we will discuss the objective of the company, which basically almost studio companies aim to achieve maximum profits. And then goals other than profit. Here we will discuss about other goals of the company beside the profit itself. And then, do companies maximize profit? In here, we will discuss about how to achieve profit. And then, maximizing the wealth of stockholders. Then, we will discuss the concept of maximizing the profits that can be obtained by shareholder. And then the last one, we will listen about the economic profit, and here we will discuss the profit from the economic context. The principle is somewhat different from the business profit context. Next, we will discuss learning objective in this time of learning as follow. Here, we will understand the reason for the existence of firms and the meaning of transaction costs. And then explain the economic goals of the firm and optimal decision making. Describe the principal agent problems. Distinguish between profit maximization and the maximization of the wealth of shareholders. And then the last one, demonstrate the usefulness of market value added and economic value added. Okay, here we talk about the firm first. What is firm itself? Before we talk about the firm, of course we will talk about the company. Define the profit company is defined as a company as a place where a set of resources are converted into products demanded by consumer. Here means the institution or place where a production process occurs that converts inputs into our output using raw materials, capital, human resources, land, or which is often referred to as a function production. So that from the process of input to output, it is expected that the company or activity will produce a profit. While profit in the context of production activities are obtained from the total revenue minus total cost, where the total revenue is obtained from total price multiplied by total units for all goods sold or production, while the total cost is the total cost incurred by the company in financing or producing goods or goods or goods or services to be on sale. And if we get total revenue more than total cost, the result is profit. On the contrary, if total revenue less than total cost, the result is loss. Now, in the activities of this company itself, of course, not only involve internal production function such as land, capital, labor, and machinery, but almost all companies will involve outsiders in their production activities. For example, suppliers, transportation companies, governments, and so on. The activities that involve internal and external parties in a production will definitely lead to transaction, where transactions are interaction between one, two, or more parties, and this will lead to contract activities and ultimately transaction costs. But what are the transaction costs itself? Transaction costs, for example, costs incurred when signing a contract or interaction, and there are three types of transaction costs. The first type is investigation, which is the cost getting from search and information costs. Second one, negotiation costs. Negotiation costs and decision or executing contacts. And then the last one is invoicing contract, which is the cost is detailed monitoring fees. The negotiation process itself can be very long and costly. According to Furborn and Richard, in 1998, show that the transaction costs are the cost of using in the market and the cost of using the right to place others within the company. So, there are three types of transaction costs, according to Furborn and Richard in 1995, which can be divided into two types. First is fixed transaction costs, and then second one is variable transaction costs. For this reason, transaction costs will appear when the contract is carried out, while transaction costs are affected by uncertainty, frequency of recurrence, and asset specificity, in which all three types will determine the size of the transaction cost to be incurred. These are some examples of transaction costs incurred by contracting with external party. For example, offshoring to source consumer products in retail stores, manufacturing components overseas, for example, in automotive industry, and logistic services, for example, it happens in warehousing, delivery, and etc. this slide, we can see the figure explain how transaction costs are incurred as a result of contracts between companies or internal, drawn by the thin lines, and external parties, drawn by the thick lines, and so as to increase the interaction threshold. The trade-off drawn by the broken line show the company's internal effort to meet the scarcity of production material by minimizing costs. You can see from the next figure. And then if we discussed earlier in the previous slide that in a company involving external parties, then to be clearer, I will explain two types of external parties that are usually involved in production activities. The first one is offshore. Offshore is work related to buildings or structures built above sea with a certain depth as support for its general activities for the process of exploration and exploitation, for example. The second type of external is reshoring. Reshoring in term used to describe the return of production facilities to the country of origin country after moving abroad. For example, in Indonesia Cooking Oil Company closed manufacturing facilities in another country and opened in a new one in Indonesia. This usually happens when production costs such as labor or raw materials become cheaper in the country of origin or are more expensive abroad. In other words, reshoring is the relocation of production activities. For example, such the Nike factory which relocated production to Southeast Asian countries with the aim of minimizing labor costs, which is fact is very cheap. Some of signs of reshoring you can see from the slide. Here, the signs are wages in developing countries have been rising, and then the decrease in the value of the dollar has increased the cost of importing. Increases in energy costs have made it more expensive to ship products, and manufacturing firms have significantly increased productivity, making firm production more competitive. As, illustration here, I give illustration Coase and the Internet, which is Ronald Coase wrote in 1937, pre-internet, but his ideas are still relevant today. This is a case example of transaction cost. How Coase explains that a trade-off, a situation where one has to make a decision on two or more things, and then the management should sacrifice or lose an aspect with a certain reason to obtain another aspect with different quality as a choice made. This trade-off will incur an opportunity cost. In the case of the Coase and the Internet, there is a trade-off between internal costs and external costs, where the manager of the Coase company must choose between two choices, whether to pay for internal activities or costs for external. In the case finally, it was found that the technology can be the solution in doing cost efficiency. Next, if we discussed earlier that the ultimate goal of a company is maximum profit, then the question is, how can the company achieve that goal? There is an initial thought and there is some argumentation and hypothesis that maximum profit is the most common initial argument that must be done. Besides that, there are also other objectives such as market share growth, revenue growth, and shareholder value, and so on. But in addition to profit maximization goals, other goals of the company are optimal decision. Why? Because this goal will later lead the company to its main goal, which is getting profit. That is the optimal decision is crucial to be precisely aware of a firm's goal. Different goals can lead to very different managerial decisions given the same limited amount of resources. In addition to purpose of obtaining profit, optimal decision, there are also other company goals that are called economic and non-economic objective. Economic or financial objective such as market share, growth rate, profit margin, return on investment, return on asset, technological advancement, customer satisfaction, and shareholder value is a kind of the economic and financial objective. What about the non-economic objective? Whereas for non-economic purposes, for example, good work and in environment for employee, quality products and services for customer, good corporate citizenship and social responsibility are the samples of the non-economic objective that sometimes a company should be achieved. Whereas for non-economic purposes, if we previously discussed profit as the ultimate goal of the company and how to achieve maximum profit, this time we will discuss how the company can maximize profit. If there is a company whose ultimate goal is not to maximize profit, but also they have to be satisfied, which means that the company strives to achieve satisfying goals, which may not require the companies to do the best. So that in the context of profit like this, can be interpreted that profit cannot only be measured by something tangible, but also can be in an indicator of the achievement of profit obtained in something that not untangible. It's namely satisfaction. Now, the question is how to achieve the satisfaction. There are two forces to the satisfaction of a company, namely the position and power of stockholders, and the second one is position and power of management. Those forces show that the power of stakeholders who can increase the value of company so that in the end the company will get a big profit. For example, how can Freeport McMoran puts its annual profit as a top-tier company perched on the prestigious shares on the Wall Street Stock Exchange. This happens because there is no share ownership from parties who have political power in the USA as the country origin. From the example of the case of Freeport McMoran Company, we can know that the position and strength of shareholders are important factors that must also be considered by the company if it wants to increase its value and profit. That is why some countries, such in Indonesia, several large companies such as Lipo Group, Astra, and other BUMN often place high-ranking officials as commissioners and even become shareholders in this company. The question is why officials or leaders of power are people who are often rightly included in the composition of shareholders. The reason is, first, shareholders are concerned with the performance of their entire portfolio and not individual shares. And then the second one, shareholders have far less information about the company than management. Thus, shareholders will not take any action if they get a satisfactory return. And how to measurement of wealth? Before that, we will take a note the definition of shareholder and wealth maximization first. The shareholder wealth maximization goal states that management should seek to maximize the present value of the expected returns to the owners of the firm. These returns can take the form of periodic dividend payment or proceed from the sale of common stock. And how to measurement of wealth? View the firms from the perspective of a stream of profit or cash flow over time, and then the value of the stream depends on when cash flow occurs. And then it can be measured from requires the concept of the time value of money. A dollar earned in the future is worth less than a dollar earned today. There is an opportunity cost of getting a dollar in the future instead of today. And why is maximizing shareholder wealth a better goal? The shareholder wealth maximization goal states that management should seek to maximize the present value of the expected future returns to the owners, as I explained in the previous slide. This return can take the form of periodic dividend payments or proceed from the sale of the common stock, which is the present value is defined as the value today of some future payment or stream of payment, evaluated at an appropriate discount rate. And what about the discount rate? Discount rate, here noted by K, is affected by the risk, which is the discount rate takes into account the returns that are available from alternative investment opportunities during a specific or future time period. The longer it takes to receive a benefit, such as cash dividend or price appreciation of the firm's stocks, the lower the value investor places on the benefit. In addition, the greater the risk associated with receiving a future benefit, the lower the value investor places on that benefit. Stock prices, the measure of shareholder wealth, reflect the magnitude, timing, and risk associated with future benefit expected to be received by stockholders. Shareholders also is measured by the market value of the shareholders' common stock holdings, and the market value is defined as the price at which the stock trades in the marketplace, such as on the New York Stock Exchange, and thus total shareholder wealth equals the number of shares outstanding times the market price per share. The objective of shareholder wealth maximization have a number of distinct advantages. First, this objective explicitly considers the timing and the risk of benefit expected to be received from stock ownership. Similarly, managers must consider the elements of timing and risk as they make important financial decisions, such as capital expenditure, and in this way, managers can make decisions that will contribute to increase shareholder wealth. Secondly, it is conceptually possible to determine whether a particular financial decision is consistent with this objective. If a decision made by a firm has the effect of increasing the market price of the firm's stock, it is a good decision. If it appears that an action will not achieve this result, the action should not be taken, at least not be voluntarily. And then third, shareholder wealth maximization is an impersonal objective. Stockholders who object to a firm's policy are free to sell their shares under more favorable terms than are available under any other strategy and invest their funds elsewhere. If an investor has a consumption pattern or risk preference that is not accommodated by investment, financing, and dividend decisions on that firm, that investor will be able to sell his or her shares in that firm at the best price and purchase shares in company that more closely meet the investor need. For this reason, the shareholder wealth maximization objective is the primary goal in financial management. However, concern for the social responsibility of business, the existence or other objective pursued by some managers, and problems that arise from agency relationship may cause some departures from pure wealth maximizing behavior by owners and managers. Nevertheless, the shareholder wealth maximization goal provides the standard against which actual decision can be judged, and as such is the objective assumed in financial management analysis. So, the future cash flow noted by DI must be discounted to find their present equivalent value, and the discount rate noted by K is affected by risk. Thus, from the future cash flow and the discounted rate, we can explain that risk, there are two kinds of risk. The first one is business risk, and then second one is financial risk. How about business risk? Business risk involve variation in returns due to the ups and downs of the economic situation, the industry, and the firms. All firms or companies face business risk to varying degrees, which is the business risk is associated with the overall operation of a business entity. These are things that impair its ability to provide investors and stakeholders with adequate returns. For example, a business manager may make certain decisions that affect its profit, or she or he may not anticipate certain events in the future, causing the business to incur losses or fail. Thus, business risk influenced by a number of different factors, including here consumer preferences, demand, sales volume, per unit price or input costs, competition, the overall economic climate, and government regulation. All factors can be influence the risk of business. And what about financial risk? Financial risk concern the variation in returns that is induced by leverage. Whether the financial risk is that the risk that a company won't able to meet its obligation to pay back its debt, which is which in turn could mean that potential investor will lose the money invested in the company. The more debt a company has, the higher the potential financial risk. So, thus the financial risk always concern in terms to the leverage context. The various types of risk in financial risk include credit risk, liquidity risk, and currency risk. And then the present price of firm stock should reflect the discounted value of the expected future cash flow to shareholder or dividend, which is P presented by the present price of the stock, D presented the dividend received per year, K presented by the discounted rate, and N presented by the period of life in firm. So the equation of the present price of the stock can be so in D divided 1 plus K until Dn divided 1 plus K on N period. If the firm is assumed to have an infinitely long life, thus the price of a unit stock which earn a dividend D per year is given by the equation, which is P is D divided K, where P is price, D is dividend, and K is discount value. And given an infinitely live from whose dividend grow at a constant rate, note by J, each year the equation for the stock price becomes P is D1 divided to K minus G, where D is dividend to be paid during the coming year, D is dividend in coming year, K is discount rate, and G is constant rate. And multiplying P by the number of shares outstanding give total value of firm's common equity, we can say with the market capitalization. In this slide, will explanation and illustration of risk business. First, sample. A company tries to manage its business in such way that the dividend over time paid from its earning and the risk incurred to bring about the stream of dividend always create the highest price for the company's stocks. And the second condition will give us the sample, which is what kind of the risk business. When stock options are a substantial part of the executive compensation, management objectives tend to be more aligned with stockholder objectives. Another measure of the wealth of stockholder is called by market value added or MAV, which is the market value added or MAV is a calculation that shows that the difference between the market value of a company and the capital contributed by all investors, both bondholders and shareholders. In other words, it is the sum all capital claims held against the company plus the market value of debt and equity. So, then the equation of MAV will follow as MAV is difference between the market value of the company and the capital that the investor have paid into the company, or MFE is V minus K, which is V is market value of the company and the K is the capital should be paid into the company. MFE is closely related to the concept of economic value added or EVA that we'll explain in the next slides, which is it representing the net present value or NPV of a series of EVA value. A company's MAV is an indication of its capacity. And what is the function of MAV? The function of MAV in the company can be indicate of the capacity of company to increase the shareholder value in over time. Thus, a high MAV is evidence of the effective management and strong operational capabilities. But a low MAV can be mean that the value of management's action and investment is less than the value of the capital contributed by shareholder. It means that a negative MAV show the management action and investment have diminished and reverse the value of capital contributed by shareholders. Another measure of wealth of stockholder is economic value added, as I explained a little bit in the previous slide. What is economic value added or EVA? EVA is a measure of company's financial performance based on the residual wealth calculated by deducting its cost of capital from its operating profit adjusted for taxes on a case basis. EVA can be also referred to as economic profit, as it attempts to capture true economic profit of a company. So that the equation of EVA can get from EVA is net operating profit after tax or NOPAT minus invested capital times weighted average cost of capital or WECC, or the formula for calculating EVA can be get from NOPAT minus WECC times to invested capital, or EVA is return on capital minus cost of capital times to total capital. If we get EVA more than zero, it means that the shareholder wealth rising. But contrary to that, if ever less than zero, shareholder wealth folly. Now we can turn to kinds of the economic profit in business. There are two kinds of economic profits. We can say economic profit and accounting profit, which typically difference. Accounting profit is the monetary cost as the firm pays out and the revenue a firm receives. But accounting profit is total monetary revenue minus total cost. And economic profit is the monetary cost and opportunity cost a firm pays and the revenue a firm receive. Thus, economic profit is total revenue minus total cost. So we can say that the accounting profit is monetary revenue minus total cost. But economic profit is total revenue minus explicit cost plus implicit cost. Therefore, the accounting profit typically has accountant measure by explicit incurred costs as allowed by generally accepted accounting principles or GAAP. And then in accounting profit contains of the historical costs. Another side is economic profit, which is the economic profits are concerned with the implicit costs. Economic profit is difference between total monetary revenue and total cost, as I said before in the previous slide. But total cost here include both explicit and implicit costs. Economic profit includes the opportunity cost as associated with production and it's therefore lower than accounting profit. And economic profit also account for a longer span of time than accounting profit. Here, economics often consider long-term economic profit to decide if a firm should enter to or exit market. So does the economics profit concerned with the implicit cost. And accordingly, economic costs include not only the historical costs and explicit costs recorded by the accountant only, but also it contains the replacement cost and implicit costs as a normal profit that must be earned on the owner resources. And then the economic profit are total revenue minus all economic costs. Finally, we will discuss the company's objective. I'm sorry. Finally, we will discuss about the company's objective, namely the achievement on profit associated with global condition. As discussed earlier about business risks, the global conditions that are around greatly affect how and how far the company will get maximum profits. As for differences issues such as foreign currencies, legal differences, languages problem, attitudes, and the role of government, which is totally different from a country to other country. So this is the becoming problems when the company should be adjust the condition, the global condition to gather the profit. Finally, after we discuss all about the company's goal, in the achieving maximum profit and the optimization in the company, With this slide, we can conclude that a firm objective is the maximization of its profit or the minimization of its loss. And there are all other important non-economic goals of the firm. It should be non-economic goals. Understanding this, the time value of money are essential for managing a business. And then the last one, in this chapter, we can conclude that economic profit for a firm are total revenue minus all economic costs. So thank you for the listen this chapter, and I hope you can enjoy with the explanation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.